everybody. Welcome back. And today we are going to review Vic's favorite newest modern movie.
He's finally done it, folks. He's finally got me to sit down and watch the Terrifier movies, and I was quite terrified to do it. But I survived, vomit free. Nothing came up except, there was no acid reflux reaction to the movies. But that said, there's still part 3 coming up, which we'll have to see in theaters.
Yep, stick around because we already have our tickets for it.
And we'll be doing a out of the theater, fresh, hopefully vomit not on our shirts, review of the movie on the way home.
And as always, folks, I'm just going to ask Vic one quick question.
Yeah.
So before we do this, because this is a review of Terrifier 2, what were your thoughts of Terrifier 1 before we 100% get into this?
Well, first of all, it's very true that I've never seen these movies. I stayed away from these movies. I am not a gore person to the extent. I'm not a gore. I'm not a gore hound in the way that Mr. Nick Arcana is. I didn't really care for Hostel or Hostel 2. What are some torture
burn? You got a lot of Saw. Saw's one. They're very popular. I only care for the first 3 movies of that. Hostel 1 was fine. Hostel 2 is the reason why I did not watch Hostel 3. Then you also got The Green Inferno, which is pretty gory. But then again, you're watching a cannibal movie at that point. You expect some gore in that one.
I didn't know there was a Hostel 3.
There was. It takes place in Las Vegas.
Yeah, probably for the better that I didn't know about it.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, those movies. I'll say this: like, I don't have a weak stomach though. I'm not like totally freaked out by the idea of like super gory movies. We watched In a Violent Nature recently, which was a movie that was kind of hailed for its goriness and going out on the kills. Not to give a review of the movie itself, but I was fine watching that. There was a couple things that was kind of over the top, but I kind of laugh at it. I'm just like, I don't take it seriously. I'm always knowing that this is just a movie we're watching. I can appreciate the makeup and the work that's put into the effects when there is a super gory kill. So it doesn't bother me. But all that said, coming into this week, I knew I was going to watch Terrifier 1 and then also watch Terrifier 2 with you, knowing nothing about the movies at all, just from its reputation. I was a little bit curious. I was like, I'm not going to eat a big meal before watching these movies. I'm not going to be eating anything that can make the stomach churn as I'm watching. So Terrifier 1, I think that was probably about 3 days ago I watched that. Now, Terrifier 1, overall thoughts of the movie? Not much of a story. Not much of a plot. Passable acting. Great introduction, though, to Art the Clown. Fantastic performance by the actor. Me loving all the horror icons, Freddy, Jason, Michael. I could definitely see where Art the Clown fits in. And it felt like more of a demo. It felt like more just showing what the potential of the franchise could be. And yeah, there was some crazy ass kills for sure. That hacksaw thing, that was probably the one that sort of made me a little bit turned away for 1 second, cringed, and then turned back to the screen and watched it. And to be honest, I laughed my ass off when he pulled out a gun. That was my favorite scene because, again, knowing nothing, no spoilers from ahead of time, I knew nothing about the movie. So for a slasher, like a killer who loves the torture part of it, for him to pull out a gun and start shooting is just kind of like hilarious. So I busted out laughing at that. So overall, I had a fun experience with the first one. It made me look forward to part 2. And then part 2, of course, I watched that with Nick Arcana because I think he had an inkling that maybe there might be some freaking out, and he wanted to be there to witness my misery if I did in fact succumb to the gore of part 2.
Well, there's another reason why I needed you to watch it with me, because I knew once you saw the runtime of this movie, you would not have finished it. You would have watched about halfway through, and then decided, I'll finish it the next day and then never get back to it.
Much to my surprise or my chagrin, to find out that Terrifier 2 is 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yes.
Which, I mean, you expect that from certain type of movies, but you're going into a slasher, you just don't expect to see 2 hours and 20 minutes. So, I mean, I was interested. I was worried because in my brain, I was like, okay, well, how much fillers are going to be in this movie? I couldn't fathom the idea that this movie needed to be 2 hours and 20 minutes. So I was worried about the filler part of it. But then I was also like, well, damn, how long are the kills in this movie then? Because this might be some serious torture gore going on if it's 2 hours and 20 minutes. So I was a little bit squeamish, much to my surprise, as we turned on Terrifier 2, Nick's Chinese food arrived. I'm sitting there. I was like, all right, listen, I like having snacks while watching a movie. So I had a small bag of chips. I had some coffee. I was like, all right, this is perfect. No matter what I'm about to watch right now, nothing's gonna happen with chips and coffee. I turn my head to the right. Nick's busting open some dumplings. And so, what do you have from the Chinese place?
Fried dumplings and General Tso's chicken.
My God, I don't know if Nick was trolling me. I mean, he loves Chinese food. That's his favorite thing. So, but man, Chinese food while watching Terrifier 2, that tells you the hardcore nature or the sick mind of Nick Arcana, whichever you want to take it as of.
Or because I've already seen the movie and knew what I'm in for, I knew I was going to be fine eating food. It makes you feel better. When I very first watched the movie, I was in Wyoming, had 3 buddies with me, and I ordered pizza.
So the first time you watched it, you even then were just like chowing down on some pizza.
Chowing down on pizza and wings.
I hope you finished the food before you got to a certain death scene in the movie, because there's really only one scene, I think, which everybody knows. I'm assuming the audience has seen the movie. Really one scene that I would say pushed the boundaries of the gore to a point where you're like, there's one scene that I can see where when the movie came out, apparently there was reports that people were vomiting, leaving the theater early, screaming. It was probably because of Allie's death scene, we'll call it, right? So
it's classified more as the bedroom scene.
The bedroom scene, the classic bedroom scene, which I did not rewatch the movie afterwards, but I did go on YouTube and watch that scene again just to remember
the ridiculous over the topness.
I mean, it's funny to go in the YouTube comments, because the YouTube comments are basically talking about, some of them are just like, man, this is too much. Some of them like, I really feel bad for the character. Some are like, I feel bad for the mom. They were like, this is horrible. Like, the comments are interesting. Some are like on board with it. Some were like, man, there's one comment that was just kind of like, man, I'm a horror fan, but this is too much for me. But watching on YouTube again, I think that the way you're supposed to take it is just comical almost. To me, it's over the top. The fact that she's still alive at the end of the death scene. The fact that apparently they had to build a dummy version of her to actually have animatronic. There's also like I believe there's actually like there's some CGI going on this death scene a little bit, I think.
Nope.
You don't think there's like I think I read something about maybe they were doing so much to her that they had to implant her face at a certain point. It could be wrong. Could be entirely practical, but definitely the animatronics. Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing I read about it was she couldn't be, obviously at that very end pose. So they did the animatronic there, which literally, admittedly, doesn't look as good of an animatronic as Chucky, but it's still pretty impressive.
Yeah. So, I mean, also, I guess a lot of comments go in the idea of like, I guess it's true. I didn't think about it time, but this is like in the movie. I mean, it's like a 16-year-old girl. It is pretty crazy when you think about. It's pretty dark when you think about what's going on here, and then the mom and all that. But I was able to look the screen in the eyes straight up, not cringe at all, not turn my eyes. And if you can make it to that scene, you can make it through any scene. Maybe.
I just want to mention, folks, me and Vic were laughing the entire time watching that scene. It was just so
I
over the top that we just could not compose ourselves. So he looked away, but not out of cringe. He looked away because he was laughing too hard to pay attention.
listen, there's no right way to watch a movie, right? There's no right or wrong way to enjoy a movie. I can understand the idea that some people took this as, "Oh my god, it's too much," and maybe some people actually did vomit or walk out the theater. Maybe some people were terrified. I think that's okay, but I think it's also okay for some people to just take it as, like, a super over the top, meant to be harmless, gory scene. It's so over the top, and the man at one point, I mean, he comes back in with the, was it the
Salt and
salt and all
bleach.
that. I mean, that's clearly going for a comedic thing there, clearly. Um, so I can understand the perspective of, like, people taking it too seriously and being like, "Oh my god, this is terrible." But it's Terrifier 2, and you should have expected that if you're watching Terrifier 2. I mean,
Well,
you should have seen the first one if you're watching part 2. You shoulda knew what you were in store for. So if you're offended by that scene, it's like, well, what'd you expect? What were you expecting from Terrifier 2? Come on.
well, here's the even funnier part: is this is the scene that took them technically 3 years before when they started the scene. It was right before COVID. I mean, COVID
Mm.
just hit. They had to shut down. So they were literally on the script for 3 years at this point. Both David Howard Thornton and Damon Leone were just saying, "Hey, would it be too much if we did this, or would it be hilarious if we did this? And let's add this just as icing on the cake." They come back. The actors read the script, and then the actors looked at him like, "We need salt and bleach."
Wow. That's actually cool that was her suggestion. So,
I
um,
think she was just read it, saw how ridiculous the scene was. Like, let's just go over the top with it.
yeah, I'm guessing that's again, that's the idea here. It's super over the top. It is very long. I mean, for a death scene, it seems pretty long, but
It's like 15
um
minutes.
and listen, I mean, the idea here was that no matter how creepy the trick or treater looks, you should give him candy.
Yep,
So,
that is definitely our saving grace in this is if you ever get treated to a trick or treater, he has a whole trash bag full of weapons. Don't disrespect him. He'll probably still kill you, but he'll kill you faster.
what if she had given him a piece of candy that he didn't particularly liked? What if it was a Tootsie Roll, and would that have caused even more damage, or
Have you
maybe
not
not?
seen this man's teeth? I don't think he cares which candy he gets. Probably can't taste it.
That's probably true. So preface with that, I had no issues with the kills, the amount of gore. I was all for it. I took it as fun, over the top silliness. But my only issues are not in the matter of the gore. That's all good and great. The length of the movie did get to me a little bit. There were some scenes for me that dragged a little bit that I felt like could have been taken out. I don't think this is a unpopular opinion that the movie's a little bit too long for me. Um, and that damn nightmare scene at the beginning.
Uh, that is the most egregious part for me. Is the damn clown cafe dream sequence. There was no point to it. It didn't really lead anywhere. Oh, there was a random fire in her room. I don't care. There was no point in that damn scene. I mean,
I guess it's a show, I guess, that she and her brother are seeing Art the Clown sometimes in real life, but sometimes in their dreams, but he's a part of their life. And I think my only issue with the movie is that it's the length, but also just that the story the story of this movie, which to be fair, I definitely wanted more story because part 1 didn't seem to have a plot at all. So I wanted a plot.
well,
But
we
this
needed we
story,
needed enough story to equal out two movies because we didn't get
yeah.
a story in the first movie.
Yeah, so this is actually enough story for 2 movies basically, because there's so many questions asked in terms of, what was up with their father? Um, what was up with the father's drawings?
Before we get into some of the theories about this damn movie, one in particular that kind of annoys me. Um, I do want to bring up one small background bit since you told me you wanted me to bring the background. I got one major one. So this movie.
This is your favorite franchise, Nick. One of your favorite franchises. I mean, it's in your top 5, I'm guessing.
So this movie only came out to certain theaters. I mean, when I was in Wyoming, this movie came out. The closest one to me was all the way like 3.5 hours away.
Mm.
So I couldn't go see it because I wasn't about to drive that far just for a movie.
Mm.
But anyway, so the movie only came out to select theaters. I want to make that point known. With a budget of $250,000, it made $18 million.
Woo. It's a whole lot of profit.
Oh yeah, which is probably why Terrifier 3 is coming out a lot faster than Terrifier 2 did. Because Terrifier 1 came out in 2016, with Terrifier 2 coming out 2022.
And I'm assuming part 3 is actually going to have a much bigger budget now also.
I've been seeing reports saying at, I think, $1 million. And Damon Leone has stated he is not, they're still not going to do they're still not going to do a lot of CGI. He did say there's going to be some, but they're going to still opt for all practical effects, which I am still happy about, because practical always looks better than CGI.
Well, the bigger budget's good because it means that they can pay the actors more, they can pay the crew more. If the movie made that much money, part 2, then yeah, you want to have a bigger budget. It's all about still maintaining the spirit of the first 2, though, where you had that kind of raw, low budget. You know, you don't want to lose that as the budget gets bigger, which sometimes sequels do. So as long as they maintain the spirit, I mean, the budget going up is all good news. I mean, that first one looks like almost like a damn student film. I mean, it looks really low budget. The second one to me looked actually really good. I mean, I would have thought that the second one had a budget of a couple $1 million, but I think that was, yeah. So they do a lot with the budgets they have. So I'm interested to see what they do with millions of dollars now. So
well, funny thing is so 250,000, if I remember correctly, could be wrong, but what I've seen is Damon Leone did a lot of that practical effects with a very small crew. This time around, he has a new crew, or he hired a company. He's not doing the practical effects though, but he is still saying there are practical effects with minimal CGI, which I'm happy about.
100%. Practical effects are, for me, always preferable in the horror genre for sure. Yeah. So I mean, I think, like I said, bigger budget, you can hire more people and pay the actors more. So, let's talk about a couple things here. So we'll get into some theories here. This being
actually, I got one more background thing.
Yeah.
So throughout this movie, from what I've read, Damon Leone and David Howard Thornton actually both had a kind of a competition going on to see which one would sick out the other one.
Well,
so they would both be coming up with different kills. Damon Leone would choose which kill to go with, but they would just be trying to pretty much make it to where one of them says that's too much. David, our actor playing Art the Clown, won that battle. So there was a scene. I can't call it a kill scene because last we see him, he's alive and he can survive this painfully. But the guy,
oh God, I don't know.
So David, so Arthur Clown stabs the guy, rips off his man parts, and then uses it to smear across the car. Funny thing is, David's original plan with that was to turn that penis into an air balloon. And he wanted to make like an air balloon dog out of the penis.
Oh.
And when he brought it up to Damon Leone, he's like, no.
He's like, man, he's like, even I have limits, man. Come on.
It's like, we can't do this to the men watching. And David's like, what do you think we've been doing to the women?
To be honest, I mean, it does sound like something Art would do.
Right. That's why I was
very much in character.
That's why I was kind of wondering, like, why didn't they do it? That sounds like it would be flipping hilarious.
That would have been, oof, yeah. That would have been crazy. Okay, so Terrifier 1, I'm watching it. My impression up until the ending was that Art was a human being, just a human being with a lot of issues and weird teeth. Yes. But I assumed he was a normal human slasher. and then they give us kind of the ending, which is very similar to the ending of Halloween, where you kind of establish that, hey, this dude's not a normal human being. He's obviously something else. Part 2, we're going very, 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 very supernatural fantasy. I don't know what this man is. I guess some kind of demon out of hell. I don't know, but
Uh,
um,
so I guess with a little bit of context, if you believe there's a horror anthology, you can watch it on Tubi. It's called All Hallows Eve,
hmm,
where every segment does revolve around Art the Clown. Damien Leone made it, but it was played by a different actor at the time.
hmm,
And one of those segments actually has Art working for other demons, like bringing them victims.
hmm.
So that way these like scientist demons can dissect and study humans.
Okay, interesting.
So if you take that as canon, yes, Art is a demon. If you don't, and I don't think it's meant to be canon, then we're to believe Art is. I'm still going to say a freaking demon with what he's able to survive through.
Yeah, to me, he's like at this point, he's almost like Pennywise, like some kind of demon to me. And so let's talk about the little clown girl in this movie.
I don't. I hold on. Let me find out who played her because I don't actually know her name.
Oh, yeah. Hold on, I got the IMDb up as well.
Okay,
Look
so
this up. Well,
problem is I don't think her actual cast name was Little Clown Girl. Oh, Little Pale Girl. Okay, so yes, the Little Pale Girl played by Amelie McLean.
Okay.
That's her name. I thought that I said that right. Yeah, because I don't see anything else that says like Little Clown Girl. So Little Pale Girl played by Amelie. Um, yeah, this girl
Well,
is
what do you think?
she's
Is
scarier than Art,
she
in my opinion.
well well she's more unpredictable and more mysterious, and is she
So we
is she
find
what
out.
is she the one that brought Art back to life? What is she? I
So
don't know.
since the movie has silent killers, I'm saying that plural only because Amelie is part of this, or the Little
Mm,
Pale Girl is part of this. Unfortunately, the we don't get much with why Art is back, but the synopsis does say he was resurrected by a evil entity in order to exact revenge.
hmm,
So it is reason to believe that yes, the little girl did bring him back. And that really goes with my first theory about. And honestly, I don't think it's really a theory. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have already put two and two together. But since she is after Sienna and whatever the kid's name is, it begs to believe, and her whole clipping about her being murdered is in their father's journal. It is the best to believe that their father is the one who actually murdered the little girl.
hmm.
And we
In
do
the
get some.
in the car accident?
No, like literally
Oh,
murdered her in the in the Terrifier carnival because that's where her body
oh.
was found. So I
So I thought Art would have been the one. I thought Art would have killed her.
no, the reason I put the father in that is because the father had the clipping, and you do get a lot of bits about the father being violent towards the end there, and her death would
Hmm.
have coincided with around the time he started getting violent.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay, I can buy that. We're clearly gonna find out a lot more about the father, I feel like, as the movies go on, because the father, there's a lot of, again, fantasy elements introduced by the father and
Hmm.
that character. We don't learn that much about him, but he's clearly gonna play a big role in the sort of the origin story of this whole thing.
So the other theory about the father, I
Uh-oh.
don't like this theory
Yeah.
because it makes no sense to me. And that is the father is Art the Clown. Now let me explain why I don't like this theory.
Yeah.
Because it is already proved that Art the Clown was a supernatural being. Okay. a supernatural being would not, especially someone like Art the Clown, probably would not have a family. He would not have had a normal childhood, which sounds like this father most likely had, because the father apparently got some kind of disease that caused him to
Hmm.
go crazy.
Right.
Which I'm assuming is actually probably him seeing Art the Clown. But
Yeah, I don't think I can't picture Art the Clown as a family man living a domesticated life where he's going to work every day, coming home from work, having his kids. I just don't see that as his background. I mean,
right,
maybe.
right.
Maybe he
Well,
went off the rails at some point, but it doesn't seem
doesn't
possible.
seem possible. Yeah. Well, the other reason I don't think this is him is because in his journal, again, if we're to believe this man is Art the Clown, which would also mean he should not be alive after, or around or alive after the events of the first movie, which took place a
Mhm.
year before Terrifier 2. Yeah, yeah, in the journal there are clippings of the events from part 1. I think the reason people think it's Arthur Klein is their father is because there's also drawings of the events.
Right.
But because I believe the little girl is the one who brings art back to target the father originally, it is kind of believed that the little girl with the power to mentally fuck somebody over can put those thoughts in his head, which would have made him go insane to the point where he finally crashes into a transformer box and burns alive.
And then she brought Art back with the idea of terrorize his kids,
Yeah, because
the father's kids.
I get the feeling that originally, now she does meet Art the very same night as the events of the first movie. So it is believed that she wanted Art to go after the father originally. But,
Hmm.
one, she's an evil entity, so why stop at the father? And two, the father ends up taking his own life from what we gathered. Most likely, probably saw the little girl in the street, tried to swerve to miss her, slams into a transformer box. I don't know. It could just be he's tired of the vision she's given him, her or Art, slams into the transformer
Right.
box himself. Either way,
Hmm.
because now she can't get her revenge on the guy who murdered her, he's going to go after his whole family, which is his kids and wife. That's my theory.
Well, I like that theory, and it makes a lot of sense to me. The one thing that I'm kind of clueless about though is that so that covers like her and Art side of it. Now, on what side of it does Sienna, right? Is that
Yes,
Sienna?
Sienna.
How does she also get these mythical powers where she's basically like a superhero? So
Um, so what
how
we
does she
didn't
become a
see,
dragon? How does she become a Dragon Ball Z character? That's what I don't know. 100%.
is her father is actually Goku. Um,
Yeah, so 'cause there's something also supernatural about her side of the family, though, that's the thing, it's like
again, her
somebody
father,
on the
her
good
father.
side, I would say.
What I'm saying is her father's Goku.
Yeah.
His and he actually instead he's not fully dead. He killed himself so that way he can go train with Master Yoshi for another 20 plus years before coming down to face Art the Clown in an epic Mortal Kombat.
So this is all really just a Dragon Ball Z spinoff.
Yes.
Gotcha, gotcha, okay. Well, uh, I don't know how to even move on from that, but, that we're not found that in the official theories box, are we? That's like in your radicalized,
That's
ghost
just
face.
some
That's in
bullshit I
the
just threw in there.
That's in the ghost face is an assassin,
Hey, whoa, Ghostface is a hitman. Okay,
don't do it, don't do it,
I'm gonna do it.
don't do
I'm gonna say it forever until it is freaking proven right.
it. It's not it bad.
But no,
Alright,
the
so
Goku thing is just me being funny.
yeah, but I mean, the ending of this movie tripped me out because I'm like, "Okay, I know that Art's supernatural, and I get that, and he's apparently basically killed her at this point, she drowned in the thing,
Back
and
at the
then,
clown cafe that we don't need. Which again,
yeah,
that
and
this bit went on for too long, in my opinion.
yeah, and then she's dead. But I guess the magic sword calls to her or something, and she's back, and now she's swinging the sword and killing the shit out of Art.
Well, can we
How?
really?
How,
Well,
Sway? How?
easy. The sword is probably blessed by holy magic. That's it. The sword. So their father is a D&D character. He was probably some cleric who was able to bless the sword with holy magic. So when a demon comes to fight him, that sword is going to be more effective against the demon than it is a human.
Do you think that this was the same dagger/sword from Jason Goes to Hell, the one that was able to send Jason to hell? Maybe it's the
No,
same thing. You
no.
know, your cat's on the loose again.
Yes, I see
He
him.
he's back for Terrifier Part 3.
But no, I don't think that is the same weapon because remember that weapon can only be used by another Voorhees woman, unless Sienna is like some very like third or fourth distant cousin of Pamela Voorhees. I don't think that sword's going to work for her.
Alright, what about the Cantanian dagger from the Evil Dead series? You know what? Here's how we can
Maybe
explain here's how they explain all the lore, right? The next movie, just
the
have him chilling.
Necronomicon just like
Have
right there
have
on the
Art
wall.
chilling. Just have it in the background. One shot of the Necronomicon. We see with Jason Goes to Hell, people run with that. Jason's a deadite, apparently. That's all we need to explain the lore here is Necronomicon.
Nah.
Alright, so what else can we talk about with this movie? I you know,
Let's talk about this bullshit clown cafe scene that made no damn sense. The plot of the damn flipping movie. Let's face it. This movie is actually an hour and I'm gonna give them benefit of that hour and 45 minutes long. Cut out that clown cafe BS because that's in 3 scenes. One of them being 20 minutes long.
yeah.
Cut that out. Movie's now at like 2 hours 50 minutes. Cut out all the unnecessary time needed to linger on certain shots, like Sienna in the damn tub. If that was cut down to maybe 1 minute, maybe 30 seconds max,
Yeah.
movie would be cut down to an even better time. Because let's face it, the time for this movie is going to intimidate people from actually watching this movie.
I'd cut out some of the interactions with her and her friends, maybe cut that into one scene of them interacting. Some of the stuff at the dance where for a few minutes it feels like we're cutting back and forth from one movie to like a teen drama all of a sudden at the
I
dance
was
with them
expecting Blade to
making
come
fun.
out.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, Sienna looked like a vampire snack to me.
A vampire snack.
Well, a lot of her body was shown in that scene, so vampires had easy access to a lot of blood veins.
Well, I mean, listen, we're gonna throw Dragon Ball Z in here, might as well throw Blade in here too. So just
Well,
throw it all out there. So
I'm sorry, the dance scene. I may have liked the music they were using for it, but I still felt like Blade was about to just jump out. I mean, the movie's already over the top. Why not add Blade to the mix? Wesley Snipes comes out. It's like, which one's trying to skate uphill?
now who would win with Blade versus Art the Clown? I think
I
Blade
feel
probably rips him to shreds in seconds, right? I mean,
so. Blade is a better fighter, yes, because somebody actually asked this: who would win in a fight, Art the Clown or Deadpool? And I'm going to say the same thing with with Blade and Art that I said with Deadpool and Art. Even though Art can't seem to die by normal means, he can be slowed down tremendously.
yeah.
Deadpool and Blade would chop him up into little pieces, force him to like literally revive himself within a year just to do it all over again.
Yeah.
And most likely knowing Blade, he probably would throw him in a box and send him into the damn ocean. Which obviously we also know by the end of this movie, that's not going to work either.
Well, yeah, the key thing is there's nothing Blade can do to actually kill him, it seems, but you're right. Anytime they actually go into combat with each other, Blade's gonna be probably walking out the room, at least the temporary winner. But it's kind of like a Jason Michael Myers thing where you can kill them for one movie, but then they get back in the next movie. So
Yeah, so again, it's going to be one of those just never-ending battle that's going to end up happening. But overall, Blade is a better fighter. He's going to be the one to always emerge victorious over Art.
what do you think about the I read one comment of somebody talking about the movie. It's not like a theory, just a comment that was interesting. In this movie, Art the Clown is sort of a wanted fugitive kind of thing, right? Like the police are aware of him. Everybody's kind of aware of him from the news and all that. Art the Clown is a mass serial killer, or whatever. In the first half of the movie, Sienna is seeing Art the Clown a lot, and then she sees him at the department store. Was it kind of, could a lot of people have been saved, or just could the movie have gone a different direction if Sienna alerts the police to, hey, I just ran into Art the Clown at the store, and involved the police because he's a known killer, but nobody reports him.
So this is going to be a hard one to answer, just for the fact that since it's Halloween and they mentioned that Miles County seems to be a pretty small town. This is the biggest thing that's happened in this town. So they mention it in this movie. There's going to be a lot of people dressing up as this killer, just like it's the Scream effect at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Get some big serial killer that happened in a small town. For some reason, the serial killer is then literally like, oh fuck, what am I trying to say? Like a new god. He's going to be praised for it for some reason.
Yeah, which is still kind of weird. Like I said, if somebody killed some people in our small town, I wouldn't be like thinking that the locals would want to celebrate it. So,
well, no, well, for one, we're from Virginia. The locals are going to kill the guy. The locals are all going to be armed to the teeth and be like, "Yeah, you come for us next. We dare you."
Evil dies tonight, part 2.
The only problem is the evil really will die tonight. But it's also, remember Halloween 2.
Oh yeah.
Remember Halloween 2. You got it. Granted, at the time, no one knew about the killings, or at least none of the civilians knew about the killings. So when a guy's walking around with the exact same mask and the cop just bulldozes straight through him, you know, you could get accidental deaths. So it's a good chance that they probably thought the cops wouldn't take them seriously, even though you'd think the cops would, but it is what it is.
The problem for me is I feel like Sienna knows that the Art the Clown she's seeing
is the real one.
It seems like a bad dude. Even okay, so even like he looks the part, he looks creepy, he's acting creepy towards her. I would have think she would at least put in one phone call and be like, "Hey, this dude's like been following me around this department store." What about the department store employee? Also, we got to talk about this guy also.
I'm sorry. At this point, I wouldn't have left her alone. No, seeing the interactions these two have been having, noticing she keeps looking at him, he's messing with her. It's like I would not leave her alone with him. This guy.
What was he gonna do though? Really? I mean,
well, we kind of see what happens, but
hey, Mister, get away from her. Nah.
What's bad is he tells her that, but then hi, cat. But then he turns around and walks away just to get her bag for her wings. Like she can just walk out with the wings.
Nick's cat's been trying to terrorize this podcast.
He has been
looking for a way to jump in here and steal the spotlight.
He's done it twice now.
Well, okay, yeah. My thing is just seeing the clown, and then when the clown comes back, up until the very end, the department store is just like, he's like, "Are you serious, man? Are you serious?" I'd be freaking out if the dude comes back,
especially with a whole bag of goodies.
Yeah. What do you think was it like? Yeah, I mean, did Art plan to kill that dude the entire time, or just like that dude had made him mad? I guess
he definitely planned to. What I feel like is probably planned to kill him.
How does he choose his victims? Is it like, do you have to make him mad, or does he already target you and then?
Well, let's think about the first movie. How many of those characters actually made him mad? In fact, he seemed to be in love with one of them.
Well, actually, I mean the restaurant dude at the beginning.
Well,
he definitely made him mad. Although the other employee didn't really do anything, and he came back and terrorized. There. So witnesses have to die, I guess, too.
Yeah, but let's look at I think her name was Tara, the first final girl that we thought was final girl. I believe her name was Tara. But let's look at her. For one, anyone who's unfortunate enough to see the Bye Bye Man probably recognizes her. But let's also go with the fact that he definitely seemed to like her.
Yeah.
to the point where, but then, when he stopped liking her is when she started fighting back. And I guess that's where he got bored because then he just pulled out the gun.
Well, he killed her friend in that way because the friend did the whole selfie thing with him. So that clearly made him mad. So that's why he did that. And then in this movie, though, it's like, okay, so because he likes Sienna, we can say he's got to kill her friends. So I get that part of it.
Yeah, but the other thing is, I think he already planned to kill him. I mean, you brought it up, no witnesses, even though I don't think Art cares. And the
Nah, probably not.
and the other reason is, it was probably one of those, I'm going to kill you, but I'm going to see how you react so I can see how badly I kill you. Because it feels like people who disrespect them get a lot worse than people who respect them.
Yeah. Well,
Which,
the people,
granted, everybody in this movie disrespected them.
yeah, I mean, the people that just like where he just like shoots them, like they're getting off very easy compared. Like, we just shoot you in the head, you're getting off very easy compared to like some of these other deaths. So, like the mom just gets shot in the head here, right? So,
Mom just gets
um,
shot. Let's face it, besides a few hits to Brooke's death was pretty quick.
uh let's talk about that because that death had been. You pointed something out as you were watching it about how death could have been
Oh
avoided. You
yeah.
want to talk about that?
So with Brooke's death, this is right after the what should have been the penis air balloon. She runs, and I'm actually commending this character, the writing of for this character's chase scene, because yeah, she gets pulled out of the car, which cuts her leg, so she has to limp. When she trips and falls, she takes off her heels, so it's proven she knows what to do to survive. And okay, I can't run on my heels, so I'm going to run off of them. Here's the downside: she runs into a bathroom, gets trapped, gets acid in her face, and then Art just goes to town on her, killing her after 3 hits, which is, in my opinion, pretty quick. Painful until he gets the shot in the chest. Um,
Hmm.
Now here's the part I have an issue with. When Sienna shows up in the bathroom, she walks in behind where Brooke is laying, meaning there was an exit to Brooke's left. Because when Sienna gets
You're
in
right.
there, she runs straight in, sees Brooke. And there was no edit of her walking around. She just got there, sees Brooke immediately. She's already behind the stalls,
Well, yeah,
and then there's
and
Art at the other
you see
entrance.
Art blocking out the exit. So that bathroom had 2 exits. Clearly, why did Brooke not simply just look to her right and walk out of the bathroom exit? I don't know.
Maybe it was one of those. Maybe because it is technically a fun house. It's like one of those fun horror houses. What if the one
It's a
that
real one
Sienna?
too. It was shot at a real haunted house. So
Oh, nice. But what if where Sienna walked in through was technically one of the fake walls that is meant to be an exit for actors or somebody other than that can go in, but these to the actual civilians, it looks like just plain wall.
maybe,
Even though we don't see
or
a door open, but
that, or Brooke is an idiot. I don't know. I mean, I guess we got to go with that because otherwise it just doesn't make sense.
it makes Brooke,
Um,
who literally did a lot of good in that chase scene, go down pretty badly.
it was a solid chase scene. Okay, what do you think about the idea? Someone had floated this idea that Art has the ability. This was pertaining more to Ali's death, the ability to keep his victim alive in order for them to feel more pain. He can keep them alive while he's torturing them, and then choose when they die. Does that feel correct to you, knowing what you know about the movies?
So no, I just think Allie just had a really strong will to live, even though she really should not have. Because the only reason I don't think that is because then he would have wanted to keep the coroner alive as he ripped his head in half. He would have wanted to keep the department store guy alive as as he slowly decapitated him. Would have done it for him. So I don't think he does it. I don't think he can. I think it's just Allie for some unknown reason had a strong will to live,
Hmm.
and
Which
also shock value. Which
I think I think the whole purpose of the scene was to get to that point where the mom comes in and then have her still be alive just to freak out the mom more too, so
Well, let's face it, it was
uh,
hilarious because again, we were both laughing when it happened.
I was just like, "Oh my goodness." So over the top. Now, do you think that, let's go back to okay, so obviously she opens the door, Art's there, bad trick or treating experience, Art walks away. From that point on, as Art's walking away, she closes the door. If you put yourself in her shoes, is there anything she could have done from that point forward to have saved herself? Now, he's
Well,
obviously gonna come back later to kill her, but what could she have done to have avoided this? Anything come to mind?
probably leave right then and there.
Leave her house though?
Well, let's face it. Art came back later in the night because it was
Right.
daytime when he first showed up at the house, and then he comes back probably another hour or two when it got dark.
It's dark, right, yeah.
Yeah, so at the very same time, she could have just left earlier. It's like, okay, I'm going to my friend's house now because she did try to call Sienna right after it happened. It's like I'm
Do
just
you
going to
think
go to my friend's house because I don't feel safe.
even though he left though, do you think he really left or he was just outside watching the whole time though? Like, if
Uh,
she left could she have left, or is he, like, outside right there in the car waiting for her to see if she leaves? That's what we don't know either, right? So
yeah, so it's possible he just stayed there. It's also possible that there's more bodies that the movie did not actually show.
yeah.
like all of a sudden we're going to hear on Terrifier 3 that there was actually a kid that was mutilated and thrown in bushes in between around that time, so that way it makes it look like Art was doing something else. The other thing she could have done is call the, and I agree with you on this. This one has more a more
Call
reason
the
to get
cops,
cops
right?
involved. Call the cops
Yeah.
because you saw his bag was full of bloody weapons.
Right. At this point, that's highly suspicious behavior. Calling the cops would be perfectly logical. They would at least maybe, especially if you're like, yo, it's like a killer looking clown, with them knowing about Art the Clown, they would have sent one squad car at least probably to come by
Check
and
it out. Check
something.
out the area.
She saw Art walk away from the window. If she just like keeps watching, make sure he actually leaves. If he's still there, the one thing she could do if he's in the front hiding out, I mean, it's pretty extreme, but she could leave out the back of the house, and, like, just walk away, basically. Maybe jump over some fences, some neighbors' yards, and just walk to somewhere. Because 'cause I'd
Yeah,
be think my instinct would be at that point to, like, go where other people are. Like, "I'm gonna go meet up with my friends. I'm not staying in this house by myself with a creepy looking clown right out there with a bunch of weapons in his bag." She should have probably, try to make some moves to either have somebody come to the house and get her or exit the house. But I don't
uh,
think it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like anybody's gonna be just be like, "Okay, well, back to my day. I'm gonna sit in this house by myself and just get massacred later on." I
yeah. Well, here's a question for you. Do you? Because I do have an answer. I have a my answer for it. Do you
mm.
believe Art teleports?
Man,
I feel like this is the only killer that I can actively say, okay, he has to be just plain moving around because I did not see any part where he was teleporting.
I don't think so. I mean, nothing like I didn't get any kinda Jason Takes Manhattan feel where it's, like, just in your face, egregious, like, that's clearly transportation. Ah, I don't think so. I mean, he seems to just I mean, when we were watching the movie, I asked the question of, like, because it was, with Brooks chasing, I was thinking, like, does he ever run? Because if he's just walking at that pace, then if it's a chase scene, the victim can get away. Like, if he's
I
just
don't think
walking after you,
I don't
he
think
can
he
he
can
can
run.
run.
The reason I say that is because he has clown shoes. Those really big shoes that does not that goes over his feet. Like they're like 12, 13 foot shoes for his itty bitty feet. I don't think
Yeah,
he can
so
run
so
in those.
so granted, if you run away from him, I mean, he can always pull out his gun and shoot you, like, from a distance, but otherwise, I mean, it's kinda like a Michael Myers thing where, like, there's a lot of chases of Michael Myers where basically the person gets away because Michael's is walking and you can just run away from him. So, um, but yeah, I didn't see any. He caught up to Brooke eventually, but she wasn't really running away from him. She was like hobbling because of her legs. So it
Right.
makes sense. He could have walked at a slow pace and still caught up with her. Um,
Plus, she got herself trapped with a doorway right beside her. Anyway.
but he could. I mean, the thing with this movie is like they introduce so many like things. It's like really
Actually, he
like
does
they could
run.
have unlimited powers. Does he?
With the bedroom scene, right? He ran up the stairs after Allie.
That's right. You're right. So he
He
has that in
when
his
he
tool bag.
left, yeah. So when he left, he ran out the room to grab the salt and bleach, and then ran back in. So he does
Mm.
run.
So he run. So he can run when need be, which I guess very rarely do we see him like have to run. But huh? Okay.
Probably noticed that Brooke was, hobbling and limping. So he's like, I don't need to run for you.
The one killer I always wondered about, can he run, is Ben Willis from I Know What You Did. Because I'm thinking with him, I'm like, sometimes I feel like maybe he's teleporting a little bit, especially and I Still Know.
Well,
But
that
I'm like,
one was that's a very
yeah,
egregious one, but everybody, yeah.
yeah, he's all over that. He's all over that damn island. But I'm like, but he's also another one where it's like, man, if he's gonna just walk at me like that, then no, he's not gonna ever catch me. I'm sorry. If he can run, maybe he can catch me, but he's not gonna catch me. And he don't even have a gun. He's just gonna have to. He has to get within arm's length to use the hook on you. So, um, anyways, well,
Before we go, do you want to talk about Art's resurrection?
Art's resurrection. Let me just say, I'm a huge fan of Chris Jericho, so it's fun to see him in this post credit Marvel like post credit scene. Um, I was just left thinking, what the hell, man? Now I do like that. You kind of felt like the character Victoria, I think it is, right?
Yes.
She's the one from the first movie who has the face mashed up thing.
Yeah.
You had a feeling that she was going to be used like as a bigger thing in the story. So it feels like she's set up very well for part 3 to have a bigger role. Clearly, she's very connected to Art somehow now. So by giving birth to his head.
Yeah.
Um,
So it wasn't just his head. I'm pretty because the slimy bit that eventually became his head was still coming out of her. So she's giving
yeah.
birth to his whole body.
Yeah. I mean, I was I looked at you and I was like, "What the hell?" I don't know how to react to that. I'm just like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty sure that Chris Jericho is doomed in the next movie. If I'm
Well, we'll
assuming it
find
picks
out
up,
because he does return.
if he's there, he ain't making it out. I'm guessing. So, knowing Chris Jericho, he probably asked for like the most brutal death scene they can give. So,
He probably said, "If I'm going out fighting." Nah.
yeah,
Okay.
maybe.
Well, unless there's something else you wanted to talk about for Terrifier 2.
Um, No, like I said, enjoyable experience watching it. Um, maybe too much story, and maybe too much, too little bit on the long side. You're right. That is going to be intimidating for someone to be like, okay, forget about any preconceived notion about the gore. Just like a 2 hour 20-minute slasher is asking a lot. But I mean, the movie it's a strong movie with. It's not it's not objectively a good movie in terms of like depending how you rate it. But it's a fun movie. It's over the top. It's fun. You should know what to expect watching Terrifier. And I mean, I agree with you. It's only been one movie, but the actress who plays Sienna does a fantastic job, and definitely has potential to be one of the better, especially modern, one of the best modern scream queens for sure.
Yeah, well, we'll see when because she actually in between doing Terrifier 2 and Terrifier 3, she did a movie. I believe it was called The Well. I haven't checked. I need to check that one out, which is
Hmm.
also a horror movie, and she's the main character.
Okay.
And she returns as Sienna for Terrifier 3, which let's go ahead and talk about what we are going to expect from that.
Well, I think naturally there's going to be at least one scene that tries to top the bedroom scene from part 2 because it's probably gonna have that one scene that goes for some people too far. For other people like us, we'll probably be laughing our asses off. But um, so I expect things to be turned up a little bit. I'm most interested by the whole Christmas theme and him dressing up like Santa Claus. That feels like it's gonna be a fun kind of make this in the future more seen as like a Christmas horror movie. So I think that's pretty fun. It's taking place around Christmas time. There's not enough good Christmas themed horror movie. So I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to see what happens with if we get more information about the father, and you know, I'm assuming that Art's gonna be back going after Sienna specifically, and also we didn't talk about the brother Jonathan that
Oh, that's
much.
his name.
Yeah.
How can I say that? I hope his acting is better in part 3.
Yeah, I don't even wanna get into it because I,
He,
uh,
for me, he was the weakest. Granted, it's probably still
yeah.
says something good about the movie that only one actor was the weakest part of the movie. But again, I do hope that he got a little better within this past year. We have seen that before. I mean, we said the same thing with Melissa Barrera from 5 and 6. We didn't care for in 5. She was amazing in 6.
Yeah, I mean, he's older and, more acting experience, and then also it's like maybe maybe his role has changed too, how we gotta see how big his role is too, so, um, but,
Here's a question: do you think he's able to walk after Art literally ate his damn Achilles heel?
that's true, he did eat his Achilles. Listen, man, the power of Robitussin and, physical rehab, I think he's back up and walking in then part 3. We'll be there opening night. Again, we'll give some thoughts right after we see it. Um, and then I think also we'll probably do at that point, maybe do a ranking video of like parts 1, 2, and 3, how we rank them. So far, to be completely honest,
You're doing 1 and 2.
I think I like part 1 a little bit more than part 2. I told you, it reminds me of the Raid movies where I know the Raid 2 is considered like a better movie, but the Raid 2 kind of, for me, went all over the place plot wise. And there's something like kind of raw and like simple about the first Raid movie that I prefer over Raid 2. With this one, even though there's no story in part 1, it's just quick, efficient, raw. I don't know. I think rewatch wise, I'd probably rewatch part 1 before I rewatch part 2.
I see that. I do, even though it is very lengthy. I I have to agree with you. I do like part 1 better because of the length. Because for some reason this movie has a lot of has padding in multiple scenes when this movie does not need padding in multiple scenes. This movie needed no padding.
There's a lot of slow motion, shots, a lot.
Yeah, and as now I do like the second one a lot because of Art, because of Lauren Lavera as Sienna. She does a great job.
Excellent.
It's nice to see a stunt woman become a lead actress in a movie.
Mm.
It's going to be even more fun to see what she does in the future.
I should note also, I like the music in part 2 a lot as well. So the musical choices, sometimes the score kicks in like right when Art like turns to the camera, and it's just hilarious. It's like just makes me I've laughed so many times where like there's a quick musical note and like he gives a funny face to the camera. It's just like made me laugh. So but yeah, I'm expecting this will be the first one I'll see in theaters. So that's gonna be interesting too, to watch it with a big audience and actually see, is anybody actually vomiting or running to the bathroom or seeing how
Well,
much cringe is on people's faces.
well,
So.
I will tell you, admittedly, it is still early. I mean, because the movie doesn't come out for another like 3 weeks. I when I paid for the tickets, our seats were the only ones picked. If we're lucky,
It's very early though. So
it's very early, but if we're lucky, we may be the only ones in the theater, and I hope so because I love watching a movie in a big theater with no one there.
opening night, I can guarantee you there'll be people there for sure. There's every town has a decent horror community and horror fans. Although,
Well, admittedly, it's not really. So opening night is
yeah,
technically Thursday night at like 10 p.m. is when the first showing is showing. And
yeah.
then, of course, then Friday, which we're going to see like the
Well,
second to last on Friday night.
Friday will always have a bigger crowd than Thursday though, just because it's a weekend. So, listen, you saw how well part 2 did in theaters, so I got to think that part 3 is going to be doing even better, probably. So.